Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Anu. I'm a holistic mindset and life coach, and I'm here to remind you that you can be, do, and have anything that you want. I offer one-on-one coaching, I do individual calls, and I also offer a package of 28 days, which includes 2 calls per week and daily exercises. You'll find all that information in the description box below. It's almost midnight, but I had to create this video because I'm seeing this topic come up quite a bit in my surrounding, the people that are very close to me, and even sometimes friends of friends or acquaintances, and that is anxiety. I used to be, in general, a very anxious person. During my depressions, I think my anxiety accelerated to a point where it was crippling, paralyzing. So I know how anxiety feels. I know how it manifests in a physical form as well. So I've been there. But trust me, this video is not at all coming from a place of judgment, but coming from a place of love and coming from a place of being useful or helpful. I did mention very briefly about my epiphanies, or my biggest epiphany, which happened last year. I think around this time, that was for me the end of my suffering, which was long-standing. That was understanding consciousness. What changed was my trust. And I kept saying 2 things, which was repeating quite often. The first thing was, I feel like I'm in the place of unconditional love. Secondly, I don't feel afraid anymore. I don't have any fear. So what I understood was our natural state is that of unconditional love. That comes down to understanding consciousness. But what shifts us out of that natural state is fear. There's innate fear and there's acquired, very similar to immunity. So the innate fear is that of survival. That's where your fight, flight, freeze mechanism comes into play. But that is something that we are born with. That is something that's, we can trace it back to generations and generations, and it goes back to the time of true survival. The second type of fear is the one that's acquired. That's what we learn. That's our additional conditioning, our additional programming. Heartbreak, failed relationships, financial issues. You can trace it down to when you learn to be afraid of certain things. And in our time, what we have at the moment with, social media in full bloom, we reinforce this fear state, the acquired ones. We reinforce more and more anxiety. What do you see in the news? What do you see on social media? It goes against your natural state of trust and love, because instilling fear is the most easiest way to control people. This fear is just an illusion. Hear me out. Please be open-minded while you listen to this video. I, for the longest time, thought the opposite of love is hate. Maybe could be indifference, right? But I can tell you the opposite of love is fear. And we have been downloading this fear left, right, and center without even acknowledging or realizing the damage that it causes and the price that we pay. That is the price you pay for being blindfolded or refusing to awaken, refusing, going with the flow, herd mentality. I've said that before, just because everyone is doing it. The moment you snap out of it, the entire world is going to be different for you. Trace back fear of God, the one who created us, if at all you believe in God, and you still go on doing things just because it's been told, because you are afraid of God. How does that match the image of a creator who created everything definitely with love? Otherwise, everything would be hostile. The trees don't punish us for our bad characters. The sun doesn't punish us. The trees don't say, I'm not going to give you oxygen just because you've been bad. Because everything in nature is pure love. We go further and further away from it. Very good thing that I learned from my niece last time when I was in India. Her mother scolded her for something, for some mischief that she was doing. She cried. But once that episode was over, she came back and she was hugging the mother and she was playing with us. There's so much to learn from these little kids because we get offended. If I would be scolded once at this age, I'm sure I'm going to register it in my memory and I'm going to take notes of how this person yelled at me or screamed at me. Kids don't do that because they are still not conditioned. They are still learning. So you can scold them, they'll still come back and say, I love you. There's no resentment, there's no hate. We hold on to it because we protect something. And what are we protecting? Our false identity, our ego self, right? Our survival, our autopilot, because it is so dear to me. I spent 30 years, 40 years of my life building these neural pathways. How dare you take it away from me? But who pays the price for it? Who suffers at the end of the day? We have misunderstood love to its core. My parents, or if at all your parents, had a successful marriage. It was not a successful marriage. They were successful in love. It's not that they never had problems in their married life, but their love was much more stronger to overcome those differences. And this is what we miss in our time. Forgiveness, love, it goes hand in hand. You cannot say that you were madly in love with someone. The moment you break up, that man becomes, or that woman becomes, the most evilest, cruel person that you've ever met in your life. They damaged you. How is that love? So all of a sudden, love has left the building and it gets replaced by hate. It cannot be. Then you have to admit that you never loved that person. It was just an agreement. It was just a barter. It was just a trade. It was just a business deal where you want to check your profit and your loss. This is just an example in romantic relationships. But even otherwise, when you do something for a friend, how can you expect something in return? Now, coming back to the damage that's caused by all the information we get through social media or news channels, for instance, where it revolves around giving you more and more information about the world ending. We have propagandas for everything, saving the planet, anti-war campaigns, and save this and save that. It's a catastrophe. I'll give you a very quick example from when I was, I think, 8 or 9 years old, maybe. My English teacher at that time, she had given us a homework for summer vacation. She said, if you want to improve your English, you should read the newspaper. And my father always had his Times of India in his morning routine, was reading newspaper. So I started reading this newspaper as well. I stopped in 1 week and my father watched that. He observed it and he said, well, you don't read the newspaper anymore. You don't borrow it from me anymore. And I said, I don't want to read the newspaper because there's just horrible, horrible things that I have to read. And it gives me a lot of anxiety. It makes me afraid of the world. So there was crime every time plastered in all the pages mostly. And he said, what can you do about it? And I said, I don't know. I'm too small. I'm too young. I want to change the world. It's a horrible place and, there are bad people out there and they need to be punished and blah, blah, blah. And he said, okay, then when you grow up, what can you do about it? And I paused and I said, well, maybe, I get into some authority, some level, I don't know, some kind of hierarchy where I have more power and I can get the bad people and punish them and put them behind the bars and blah, blah, blah. And then I thought, oh, but there are going to be far too many. How many am I going to get hold of? How many people am I going to punish? And I said, well, I don't know. I might fail. Maybe it's not going to work. Just me alone against the entire world. He said, you can save the world if you save yourself. And I, for the longest time, I thought that was very selfish. And I admired my father for his understanding of humanity and his spiritual aspects and everything. But that somehow did not resonate with that character of his. And I thought, how can he say that? That if you want to save the world, save yourself. So I took it more in the sense of, don't care about the world, my child. Just look after yourself, and that's it. But now I can tell you the true meaning behind this. What I understand now, if you save yourself, you're saving the world. Because how dare you think that you're not a part of this world? What makes you think that you are nothing? You mean nothing. You are a part of this world. Coming back to all the war happening and everything with these nations fighting and people killing each other, the hate going around, all the fear mongering that you have through news channels and social media, I want to ask you a simple question. If that repels you, if that makes your stomach turn and you think, how evil can these nations be, or certain politicians can be, I want to ask you, how much love do you have in your heart for the people around you? How peaceful are you in your reality, in your little bubble? How peaceful are you? Because we individually, we are a part of this world. Our hate, our resentment towards other people is what echoes in the form of these massive destructions that we see going everywhere. We don't take the time to inspect ourselves, our participation, because how can we think that we are not a part of this huge orchestration that's happening? Fear, that's where you get stuck. Fear to step out, watch all the crime scenes and whatever. Fear, there's no trust anymore. Even when you watch crime documentaries and you look at the lives of all these people who've done heinous, gruesome crimes, cold-blooded, what makes you think even in that situation that we have the capacity to judge them? I'm not validating any behavior of that sort, but please try to understand where I'm coming from. We have not lived their life. We've not had the exact same life story. Circumstances, situations, upbringings, mentality, we don't have it. So who knows if I would be in the same position, what would I be capable of? Who knows? Before blaming other people, finding fault in them, ask yourself, how virtuous and pious are you? Your fear, this lack of trust, this incapacity to love, this incapacity to forgive, to trust, is our doing. So your innate programming that you have, your basic fight, flight, freeze, that's going to be there. When I say I don't have fear, it doesn't mean that I'm going to climb a cliff and just jump off because I'm not afraid of anything. Those are basic human instincts. And your survival mechanism is there to protect you during survival. But you ask yourself, are you living in survival mode or not? If you have fear, if you have anxiety, I'm sorry to say, but you are living in survival mode. And then ask the right questions. What am I afraid of? Am I afraid of, going bankrupt? Am I afraid my partner leaving me? Am I afraid of some health crisis? Am I afraid of losing the valuable, precious things that I've got? What are you afraid of? People leaving you? Losing your job? What are you afraid of? That's where the digging is required. Not digging your parents' past and your past. That's where the digging is required. But we reach a certain level where we find the blame for somebody else. It's like, oh yeah, I'm afraid of this because my parents were like that. Okay, that's where we stop. No, go further. How does that affect you? Because if you are old enough to understand what's right and wrong, how are you still repeating the cycle? The last time I checked, you needed at least 4 years of medical training and then additional 4 years to become a psychiatrist. This is the least. To become a psychiatrist who can then label people based on their mental health. What gives us the right to watch a 1 minute TikTok video and then label people psychopaths and narcissists. If you were to analyze every human being on this planet, we will be borderline something, I'm sure. But you know why we do that? Because we've got a very good excuse to not change. A very good excuse. And that's where you become the victim, because now you are afraid of just another label. Just another label. That's what it is. It's a label. It's a tag. It's not you. Your true self cannot be labeled. When you start looking at things with much more attention, not just going with the flow, question the authenticity of all the information you get. Question the authenticity of what inner speech you have, what inner dialogue you have. You're onto a Ferris wheel and you go round and round and round and, I'm an overthinker. We don't think enough. If anyone would be an overthinker, that person is going to be out of anxiety, I can tell you, because the more you inspect, you will find the answers, because the answers are given to everyone. It comes from within. It's not rocket science. You don't need a certain degree to understand that. It's consciousness. The only thing it requires is self-inquiry. It is asking the right questions here, not there. Which nation bombed whom? It's not that, it's this. Question yourself. Why is it so rampant? Why is social media, news channels so rampant? Why do I need this information? Perhaps because you're so powerful that you need to be controlled. Perhaps that's the best way to keep all of us asleep, because then we are a part of the system and we do everything that we've been conditioned to do. We've been bred for that. And I'm not saying I'm against the society and, I'm going to fight against the taxes and I'm going to fight against. I accept the society that I am in, but my biggest responsibility is my peace and my happiness. To not budge because of that, to not shake in my truth because of that, comes from a place only when you know your true self, because you know nothing belongs to you anyway. That's the harsh truth, right? Because we slave ourselves. We spend our entire life to have a certain possession, something that we're going to leave behind anyway. Something that I'm not going to take with me anyway. I can be as obsessed as I want about everything around me, and I can, engrave my name on everything that I own. But I'm not going to take it with me. Your relationships, your titles that you've earned, your prized possessions and your gold and your silver and everything, your diamonds. Yeah, you can still leave it with a sentimental value to the next generation and they'll pass it on to the next generation or whatever. But you're not here. But you know what lives? What lives is love, because love exceeds all time, space, all dimensions. So understanding the origin of anxiety, your nervousness, your fear, and to remember it cannot exist in my natural state, because my natural state is that of love. I am love. It's not something that you have to go and achieve externally or meditate for 5,000 years to reach a certain point. It's given to each and every one of us. Each and every one of us has access to this. This is the origin of everything. So your fears, your anxieties, ask the right questions. Where is this coming from? What am I afraid of? Am I afraid of the future? What's going to happen tomorrow? Is my boss going to yell at me tomorrow? Is my husband going to leave me tomorrow? Will I have enough food tomorrow? Now, what do I have? Be grateful for what you have right now. One of the best ways to deal with fear or anxiety, observe it. If you can observe it, I've said this in all my videos, if you can observe something, you are not that. People describe their anxieties, and oh my God, and they paint such a beautiful picture of what happens. I am not mocking anyone. I said at the start of the video, I used to be an extremely anxious person. So tell me, how did it just automatically just leave my system? It's because I understood consciousness. I understood who I truly am. I am a part of the source. The source lives through me. The universe is me. And when I say me, I don't mean me, on a pedestal or something. Each and every one of us. But for that, you will have to Put aside all your identifications, all the badges of traumas that you've earned so proudly. You'll have to keep that aside. You will have to keep aside everything that you've been told, everything that you assumed about yourself, about others, about the world, everything that you've learned, everything that strengthens your ego. Keep that aside for a while. Who remains? What remains? Your name is given to you, even your name doesn't belong to you. Your relationships are relationships. Put your relationships aside. Put all your degrees aside. Put your education aside. Your social status aside. Your health problems aside. Even if you're not your body, then who are you? What are you? Something so divine, pure, consciousness and universe. I don't know, like whatever term resonates with you. How can that powerful energy being have anxiety, have fear? Again, fear of what? Is it going to be relevant 5 years from now? Is it going to be relevant? Sorry to give this example, but the time that we're passing on, is this going to be relevant? We have a very brief moment here, if you think of it, and it's gone in a flash. We spend that little time that we are here to come experience nice things and learn things and all of that. We spend that brief moment, that brief period, crippled in anxiety because we refuse to wake up. We refuse to listen to this. And we blame it on our conditioning, but the moment you are aware that you've been conditioned, you're out of it. If you still continue the same programming, that's on you. That's not on your conditioning. And it's just an excuse. We have to get out of our survival mode. We have to get out of this state of fear, of anxiety. And the only medicine there is to remember that you are love. Remember, there's trust, unwavering trust, full conviction. Everything is okay. You've been taken care of all your life. Choose love over fear. Recognize how your fear is just an illusion. It's all a part of this rut that goes on. Endless loop. Recognize it. Identify, watch it, and know, okay, this is fear, this is anxiety. This is not me. This is just an old program running. This is just me repeating the news that I watched in the morning. This is just some random social media guru who told me 5 red flags to avoid in a man. We don't need that information. Why are we so focused on dividing people? And there's more and more this separating. There's no sense of unity. And we fight for peace and world to be a better place and all of that. But we watch all of this rubbish. We fall for it. We buy what they give us and we just take it. If you want to see any change in the world, then please be the change. Do the homework first. Work on each and every one of us. I'm not saying I'm anything better, but each and every one has equal responsibility. I can't remember the author and I might be paraphrasing this, but it used to be one of my favorite quotes for a very long time, which is, "When death comes to take me, I hope it finds me alive." And my own little spin to that now is, when death comes to take me, I hope it finds me in love. Because only if I'm in love, I'm in my true state, and only if I'm in love, I have lived. That's the video for today. I'm sorry if it's been a little bit all over the place, but this is something which was just coming straight out of my heart, and I hope it resonates with you. I hope there's something good and something positive that you can take from this video that you can implement in your life and perhaps make some changes. I thank you so much for spending your time here and watching this video. If you're new to my channel, please don't forget to subscribe and also like the video, leave a comment so that it can reach out to other people who might be interested in similar content. I'm sending you lots of love and I'll see you on next Friday. Bye.